Welcome to the Deep Dive. May 2025 is National Electrical Safety Month, and, well, electricity is everywhere, isn't it? So we thought it's really vital to get into what it actually takes to stay safe around it.
Absolutely. It's just so easy to take it for granted, but the potential for harm is, well, it's very real. And the statistics, they really paint a stark picture.
They certainly do. I mean, we're looking at hundreds of deaths, thousands of injuries in the U.S. every single year from electrical incidents.
Yeah, something like, 2 deaths a day on average?
Exactly, and the property damage. From home fires linked to electrical problems, over $1.4 billion annually. That's huge. So, okay, let's unpack why these numbers are so high.
Precisely. Understanding the common issues and, taking those preventative steps is really key. It's about making sure you don't become one of those statistics.
Right. So for this deep dive, we've got a couple of really informative sources lined up. We'll be looking closely at the Network Enterprise Technology Command's National Electrical Safety Month binder that gives a pretty broad view. And also the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission's Home Electrical Safety Checklist, which is much more hands-on for your home.
Exactly. So one gives us that wider perspective, maybe thinking a bit more about workplaces too, while the other is super practical, room-by-room advice you can use right away.
And a major focus for National Electrical Safety Month this year, something we definitely need to dig into, is lithium-ion battery safety. I mean, these things are in everything now.
They truly are. Phones, laptops, power tools, even some bikes and scooters now. They're incredibly convenient, no doubt, but the risks are there if we're not careful. We've all seen or heard about fires, even explosions.
Yeah, definitely. So our goal today is really to pull out the most useful bits, the actionable knowledge from these sources, to give you what you need to boost electrical safety in your own life.
Okay, so let's dive right into those lithium-ion batteries then. As the NetCom binder points out, when you actually get them from reliable sources and you use them like you're supposed to, they're generally pretty safe. The problems really tend to pop up from, improper handling or charging, or even just getting rid of them the wrong way.
That makes sense. So the first piece of advice seems to be about where you actually buy these things. The batteries, the devices, they really stress buying from reputable retailers. Why is that so important beyond just, getting something that works?
Well, it really boils down to quality control and safety standards. Reputable places are just far more likely to stock products that have gone through proper safety testing and have certifications from what they call nationally recognized testing laboratories like UL, ETL, CSA. You might see those little logos.
Right, those little symbols.
Yeah. And those certifications mean the product has actually met specific safety requirements designed to prevent hazards.
So it's not just a sticker, it actually represents a whole layer of safety checks. ESFI, the Electrical Safety Foundation International, has more info on that. We'll link to it. But beyond the logo, what kind of specific failures are these tests trying to prevent? Like, what are the scary things that can happen with, say, cheap, uncertified batteries?
That's a really good question. So these certifications often cover things like overheating during charging, which is a big one, or internal short circuits that could lead to fires.
Okay.
Even just the physical structure of the battery casing, to prevent leaks or ruptures. Uncertified batteries might use cheaper parts, maybe lack the proper safety circuits inside, or they might just be more easily damaged physically.
And that increases the risk of?
It increases the risk of something called thermal runaway. That's basically the chain reaction inside the battery that leads to those fires and explosions you hear about.
Right, thermal runaway. Definitely something to keep in mind when maybe we're tempted by those cheaper unbranded options online or something. Okay, so once we have a device, using it correctly really matters. ESFI has some guidance on safe operation. One point was avoiding charging devices near exits. Why is that? What's the danger there?
Well, just think about it. If a battery does malfunction while it's charging and maybe starts a fire, you absolutely do not want that fire blocking your main way out of a room or, the whole building. So keeping charging stuff away from exits just ensures you have a clear escape path if the worst happens.
Makes perfect sense when you put it like that. They also say to unplug devices once they're fully charged. Is there really a risk leaving them plugged in? Don't most cut off automatically?
Most modern ones do have circuitry to prevent serious overcharging, yes. But leaving it plugged in can still generate some excess heat inside the battery.
Oh, okay.
It puts unnecessary stress on the battery components over time. It's just better practice to unplug it.
Now, what about when a lithium-ion battery gets old or it's not holding a charge well, or maybe we notice something just seems off.
Right. This is when you really need to pay attention. The sources highlight a few key warning signs. Look for any changes in the battery's color or shape, like if it starts swelling up.
Swelling, okay.
Or if you notice a weird, sweet smell, or maybe like a burning odor coming from the device or the battery itself. Or just if the battery or the device looks physically different somehow. If you see any of that, stop using it immediately.
Those definitely sound like red flags you shouldn't ignore. So, okay, you've stopped using it. What's the right way to actually get rid of a potentially dodgy or just old lithium-ion battery? Can we just toss it in the bin?
Oh, absolutely not. No, that's really dangerous. Improper disposal can actually lead to fires in garbage trucks or waste facilities.
Wow.
Yeah. Lithium-ion batteries need to be recycled properly. Many towns and cities have specific collection programs for them now. You should check with your local waste management folks or look for electronic waste recycling centers. They'll have designated drop-off spots.
Good to know. Okay, let's shift gears a bit now to more general home electrical safety. Drawing from that ESFI perspective in the Netcom binder, they really hammer home the importance of just being aware, aware of potential electrical hazards everywhere, work, home.
Exactly. Just recognizing the potential risks. That's like step one in preventing accidents. The binder talks a lot about proper electrical safety training in workplaces, using the right personal protective gear if you're working with electricity.
Right.
And just doing regular, thorough checks of electrical equipment.
And for our homes, ESFI encourages us to make it a habit, to regularly inspect our own electrical stuff, cords, outlets, appliances. It's so easy to just let that stuff fade into the background.
It really is. We rely on electricity constantly, right? So taking that proactive look, trying to spot potential hazards before they cause a problem is just crucial. And ESFI actually has a great video library online.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it visually demonstrates a lot of these home electrical safety concepts. It's a really good way to actually see what you should be looking for. We should definitely link to that resource library.
That sounds super helpful. Sometimes seeing it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Totally.
And it's probably worth repeating something both sources really agree on. For any significant electrical work, like actual wiring, repairs, putting in new outlets, always call a licensed electrician. This is not a good area for most DIY projects.
Oh, absolutely not. Trying to tackle complex electrical work without the proper training and, frankly, the expertise, it can be incredibly dangerous. Not just for you, but for your whole family or whole house.
Paying for a qualified electrician is really an investment in safety. Yeah, good point. ESFI also mentions something maybe we don't think about enough. The electrical dangers that can pop up during and after severe storms or natural disasters.
That's right. Severe weather can cause all sorts of electrical hazards. Power outages, obviously, but also flooding that can damage wiring and systems.
Right, water and electricity.
Exactly. And down power lines, those are incredibly dangerous. Stay far away from those. Their disaster safety info has some really vital guidance for those kinds of challenging situations.
Okay, good to keep in mind. Let's move now to that other source, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission's Home Electrical Safety Checklist. This is really practical, breaking things down room by room. Let's start with things to look for just generally in all areas of our homes. First up, light bulbs. Seems basic, right? But using a bulb with the wrong wattage can actually be a fire hazard.
Absolutely. The checklist says you need to carefully check that the bulb's wattage matches what the fixture recommends. You can usually find it printed right on the fixture. And if you're not sure, maybe the label is gone or unreadable, it's always safer to go lower. Use a bulb that's 60 watts or less. And for those little tiny fixtures, like maybe night lights or decorative lamps with miniature bulbs, if they're unmarked, stick to 25 watts max.
Why is that? Too much heat.
Exactly. A bulb with too high a wattage generates way too much heat. It can damage the fixture itself, the wiring inside it, and potentially ignite anything flammable nearby, like a lampshade or curtains.
Okay, good reminder to actually look at the fixture. Next, portable heaters. Super useful, especially in colder months, but they definitely come with risks. What are the key safety points here?
Yeah, several crucial things. First, the CPSC says any portable heater you buy must have a seal from one of those nationally recognized testing labs we mentioned, UL, ETL, CSA. That seal means it's been tested.
Right, look for the logo again.
Always. Then make sure you keep the heater at least 3 feet away. That's about a meter from anything that can burn. Curtains, bedding, furniture, newspapers, clothes, anything.
3 feet, okay.
Place it on a stable, level surface where it won't get knocked over easily. And obviously never touch it when it's plugged in and hot.
That 3-foot clearance rule, that's a really important visual to remember. Keep that space clear. Okay, What about those little adapters? The ones that let you plug a 3-prong cord into an older 2-prong outlet. Are they safe?
They can be used safely, but only if you do it right. The checklist is very clear. You must connect the little grounding wire or the metal tab that sticks out from the adapter.
Yeah, the little green wire or tab.
Right. That has to be connected to the center screw on the outlet cover plate. That connection is what provides the ground. It's a safety path for electricity if there's a fault.
Okay, so it gives stray electricity somewhere safe to go.
Exactly. Think of it like a drain, preventing that stray current from going through you and causing a shock.
Oh.
So never ever break off the round ground pin from a 3-prong plug just to make it fit. And don't use those adapters without connecting that ground tab or wire properly. You're defeating the safety feature.
Got it. That makes the why much clearer. Now, electrical cords themselves, we've probably got them everywhere. What should we be looking for when we inspect them?
You want to regularly check all your cords for any signs of damage. Look closely for fraying, any cracks in the plastic insulation, or maybe loose wires where the cord meets the plug.
And if you find damage?
Replace the cord or the appliance immediately. Damaged cords expose live wires. That's a serious shock and fire risk. Also, think about where the cords are run.
How so?
Well, don't run them under carpets or rugs or where furniture is resting on them. Constant pressure can damage the insulation over time, even if you can't see it.
Right, and don't step on them repeatedly.
Exactly. Oh, and extension cords, if you have them coiled up tightly, make sure you unwrap them fully when you're using them. A coiled cord can trap heat and become a fire hazard itself.
Good tip. And I guess sticking cords to walls or baseboards with nails or staples is out.
Oh, absolutely. Big no-no. Nails and staples can easily pierce the insulation inside the cord. You might not even realize it, but you've created a hidden fire or shock hazard right there.
Okay. What about extension cords more generally? Feels like almost everyone uses them sometimes.
They're useful, for sure.
Yeah.
But the checklist reminds us to always check the electrical rating, usually printed on the cord itself or the packaging. Make sure the cord can handle the power draw, the amps or watts of whatever you're plugging into it.
So you don't overload it.
Precisely. Overloading an extension cord causes it to overheat, and that can definitely start a fire. A warning sign is if the cord itself or the plug or even the outlet feels unusually warm when something's plugged in.
Warm to the touch is bad.
Yes. And remember, extension cords are meant for temporary use only. If you find you're always using an extension cord in one spot, that's a pretty clear sign you probably need to get a qualified electrician to install more permanent outlets there.
That's a good point. Temporary fix, not a permanent solution. Okay, the checklist also touches on entertainment equipment, TVs, game consoles, computers. Any specific electrical worries there?
Yeah, the main thing is ventilation. These devices generate heat, and they need airflow to prevent overheating, which could be a fire risk.
So don't stuff them in tight cabinets.
Right. Make sure there's space around them. Avoid blocking vents. And it might sound obvious, but keep all electrical gear well away from water sources. That includes like potted plants you water or fish tanks.
Common sense, but easy to forget, especially maybe if you've got kids or pets around. Okay, let's talk about the actual outlets and switches on the walls. What should we be looking for there?
Okay, first, if you have young children in the house or visiting, definitely use safety covers on any unused outlets. Those little plastic plugs, they stop kids from sticking fingers or objects in.
Essential.
Then just check that all your outlets and switches work properly. Does a switch feel loose? Does it make weird buzzing or crackling sounds? Does an outlet just not work? Those could signal unsafe wiring behind the wall.
Anything else?
Yeah, occasionally just touch the faceplates of your outlets and switches carefully, obviously.
Yeah.
Do any feel unusually warm? That's another potential warning sign. And check if plugs fit snugly into the outlets. Every outlet and switch needs a faceplate covering the wiring inside. Exposed wiring is a direct shock hazard.
Okay. And then there are those special outlets, GFCIs, ground fault circuit interrupters. You mentioned them for bathrooms. They're specifically for preventing electrocution, right?
That's exactly their job.
Yeah.
They detect tiny imbalances in the electrical current, like if electricity starts flowing through a person instead of back through the wire, and they shut the power off incredibly fast.
Wow. So where should we have these?
The electrical code requires them in places with a higher risk of water contact. So kitchens, definitely near the sink, bathrooms, all outlets, laundry areas, basements, garages, and any outdoor outlets.
And how do we know they're actually working?
You have to test them regularly, ideally once a month. It's simple. There are 2 buttons, test and reset. Plug a lamp into the GFCI outlet and turn it on.
Okay, lamp on.
Then press the test button. The lamp should immediately turn off. That means the GFCI interrupted the circuit like it's supposed to.
And if it stays on?
If the light doesn't go off, the GFCI is faulty and needs to be replaced by an electrician. Assuming it worked, you then press the reset button and the lamp should come back on.
Test and reset. Monthly. Got it. Okay, let's quickly run through some room-specific highlights from the checklist. Kitchens.
Right, kitchens. Unplug countertop appliances, toasters, blenders, etc. when you're not using them. Keep their cords away from hot surfaces like the stove, and definitely away from the sink unless they're plugged into a GFCI outlet.
And big appliances, like the fridge or dishwasher.
If you ever feel any kind of electrical shock from a large appliance other than maybe normal static electricity, that's a serious warning sign. Get it checked out immediately. Oh, and keep the area above your stovetop clear of flammable stuff. Pot holders, towels, cookbooks.
Makes sense. Bathrooms.
Similar advice for small appliances like hair dryers, curling irons, unplug them after use, even if it's switched off. And portable heaters, again, ideally plug into a GFCI or use a heater that has its own built-in GFCI plug. Honestly, a permanently installed heating fan is often the safest bet for a bathroom.
Okay. Bedrooms have a specific mention. Electric blankets.
Yes. Check them carefully before each heating season for any damage, cracks, or breaks in the wiring, any charred spots, frayed edges. Never cover an electric blanket with other bedding while it's on, as that traps heat.
Keep it flat too, right?
Absolutely. Lay it flat, never fold it or bunched up. And if you do tuck it in, be really careful not to pinch or damage the wires, especially around the mattress edges.
Got it. Basements, garages, workshops. The checklist mentions the main electrical panel, the fuse box or circuit breaker box.
Right. If you still have an older fuse box, it's critical that all the fuses are the correct size, the correct amperage for the circuits they protect. Using an oversized fuse is incredibly dangerous because it won't blow when it should, letting wires overheat.
And for circuit breakers.
It's actually a good idea to periodically, maybe once a year, turn each breaker off and then back on again. This helps ensure the mechanism inside isn't stuck. The exception is breakers for things with motors like fridges or AC units. Maybe skip those unless you know what you're doing.
In testing breakers.
Yes, just like the GFCI outlets, if you have GFCI circuit breakers or AFCI breakers in your panel, they'll have test buttons too. Test those monthly. AFCI stands for Arc Fault Circuit Interrupter.
What do those do?
They provide another layer of fire protection by detecting dangerous electrical arcs, like from damaged wiring inside walls, which GFCIs don't typically catch.
Okay, good to know. Finally, outdoors.
Outdoors, yeah. All outlets need weatherproof covers. And if you might plug something in when it's wet or raining, you need a special weatherproof while in use cover. One of those bubble covers that protects the plug connection too.
And GFCIs again.
Absolutely. All outdoor outlets must have GFCI protection, either built into the outlet or maybe by using a portable GFCI adapter you plug in first.
What about using tools outside, like lawnmowers or trimmers?
Always check the power cords for damage before you start. Don't use corded tools in wet or damp conditions if a tool gets wet. Unplug it immediately and let it dry thoroughly. Test it carefully before using again. Honestly, battery-powered garden tools are a much safer bet when things are damp.
And extension cords outdoors.
Make sure they are specifically rated and marked for outdoor use. They have tougher insulation. And use 3-prong cords with any outdoor tools or products that have a 3-prong plug to maintain that ground connection. And importantly, the checklist includes a section on when you absolutely need to call a qualified electrician. Don't hesitate if.
Okay, like when?
If you have frequent problems with fuses blowing or breakers tripping. If you ever feel even a slight tingling sensation when you touch an electrical appliance. If outlets or switch plates feel warm or look discolored.
Any other signs?
Yes, if you smell unexplained burning odors. If lights flicker or dim a lot for no reason. Or if you actually see sparks coming from an outlet when you plug something in or out. Those are all signs of potentially serious underlying electrical issues.
Definitely time to call a pro then. And there was a quick Think Green tip in the Netcom binder too, right?
Yeah, just a simple one. Make it a habit to turn off lights when you leave a room and unplug appliances and chargers when you're not actively using them. It saves energy, obviously, but it also reduces potential electrical load and minor hazards in your home. Small habits, big impact potential.
Good reminder.
Finally, both sources point to more help. The CPSC has a load of free fact sheets and booklets you can get. Topics like extension cords, GFCIs, even older stuff like aluminum wiring, electrical safety near water, lots of specific safety alerts too.
Where can people find those?
Their website is www.cpsc.gov, and you can actually email them at info@cpsc.gov to request a free copy of that home electrical safety checklist we've been talking about.
Excellent. So wrapping this up, it feels like electrical safety isn't just about, reacting when something goes wrong. It's much more about being proactive, right? Doing those regular checks, understanding how to use things safely.
Exactly. And knowing what those safety devices like GFCIs and AFCIs are actually for and making sure they work, by taking these kinds of steps, by being more informed, you really are significantly lowering the risk of injury, death, fires, property damage for you and your family.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Take a moment, maybe later today, just mentally walk through your own home or even your workplace with some of this fresh in your mind. What's maybe one simple electrical safety check you can do right away, something you might have overlooked before this conversation?
Could be checking a bulb wattage, testing a GFCI, making sure a cord isn't pinched.
Right, just one small action, but it could make a real difference.